Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back again with another video, and this is going to be the LEGO Star Wars MOC Showcase episode 19. This is a series I've created to highlight some of the best MOCs that I've come across on the internet. If you find any of the MOCs in this video impressive, all I ask that you do is go to the link in the description and support the builders by giving them a like, comment, or even a follow. Alright, the first MOC we'll take a look at today is an A-Wing crashing into the bridge of a Super Stardestroyer. This is made by Cossy, and it is just, it's a funny MOC and a great MOC at the same time. So if we'll start at the top, this is definitely the first thing I noticed, but he's using like hair pieces as the smoke, which is very creative. It kind of creates like a poofy kind of effect, like smoke puffs essentially, and I think it actually looks really nice. So good job and just very creative on doing that. One of the other cool things about this MOC, I think, is just the explosion happening around the A-Wing. I always love reviewing explosions and looking at LEGO explosions because it's not a straightforward thing to build out of bricks, so when a person can accomplish it well, I definitely like to take note of that. And Ben certainly did on this build. I think the way that the A-Wing is just, everything just flows well on this MOC, I guess I'd say. The way the A-Wing kind of is surrounded by the explosions, and of course with the smoke kind of surrounding it, I think it all just fits in well together. There's also just a lot of really nice other details as well. One of the things I kind of picked up on is actually this outline that's at the very top of those cutout sections where like the technicians or officers are working. At the bottom on those consoles, he has it like the dark gray kind of trim around the top of it, which is accurate, and it's not the easiest thing to do in LEGO. So I like that he attempted to do that, and it actually looks kind of cool using, I guess, the 45-degree slopes on one side and the cheese slopes on the other to maintain the relatively thin nature of that line. So good job on that as well. I think the minifigure placement and just the facial expressions on this MOC are impeccable. You have these two guys up top, and they're of course freaking out because there's a freaking A-Wing flying right at their faces. You got this guy on the left, bottom left, who really could not be unbothered. I imagine he just kind of comes to his job to do his job, doesn't really talk to too many people, and then he just clocks out. Really trying to engage as the least amount as possible at his workplace, which I'm sure some of us can relate to on some level. And then you have this guy at the bottom right, who he looks like he's having an existential crisis. Maybe he's wondering whether or not he left his refrigerator open at home. We'll never know. But all in all, this is just a wonderful MOC and a very cool vignette. Like, I would love something like this to just put on a shelf because it's an iconic scene. All of us remember the A-Wing crashing to the bridge of the ship, and there's humor in this, there's great builds in this. It really is just the full package when it comes to a good MOC. So wonderful job on this. Cossy is certainly no stranger to the MOC showcase, and he once again has knocked it out of the park with this MOC. This next MOC is by KevFett, and it is an X-Wing crashed on Yavin 4, and there is so much going on with this MOC, so let's dive right into it. First thing I want to notice is that the water technique on the right side is using the tiles. There's a lot of different ways that people do water in LEGO, and a lot of them are very good, but I think that the like trans blue tile water effect is probably my favorite at this point. I think that it just looks really nice, especially when it's a large body of water. It gives you the ability to incorporate various colored plates beneath it to have, I guess, the portrayal of different depths in the water. So you can do some cool and interesting things with that. And I think just overall it has the best aesthetic. So I definitely wanted to take notice of that. If you guys are considering doing water effects, my personal favorite is the tile water technique. Outside of that, of course, there's a big X-Wing crashed, and I love how there's basically the mud around it, kind of symbolizing how it, you know, like really just dug up a lot of the ground beneath it when it crashed, and then there's like the vegetation surrounding the mud. Looks very accurate, and it's very pleasing to the eye, I think. All over this MOC, you'll notice that there's a lot of those like sprues that you'll find the leaf pieces on, kind of scattered across it, made to look like vines or just, you know, random like plant life or whatever, and that looks really nice as well. That's a technique that I've really been noticing a lot lately, and if I ever do some sort of forest MOC, fingers crossed for episode 9, I'll definitely want to incorporate something like that. I think that the X-Wing and it flows so well, and a lot of the details that he put into it to make it look crashed just work really well on this MOC. For example, there's like the mud and leaves kind of pieces on the like the nose of the X-Wing at the very top of it, and then the wings are just kind of like smashed into the ground as well. And I don't know, it just all flows really well. We got a hint of some Yavin 4 architecture on the left side of it, the signature like tan pyramid looking slopes, so that's a nice addition as well. I think that also there's just a variety of plant pieces and like leaf pieces used in this MOC, and I think when it comes to vegetation like this, the greater variety you can have with those plant pieces will actually go a long way in making it look like a diverse MOC and having the forest elements actually look really nice. So I definitely give him a lot of credit for that. If you look over to the right side, he has, I guess that's a sig fig with an R4P17 figure, and I'm imagining they've kind of like set up camp and they're trying to figure out what the heck they're gonna do with this giant crass ship here. And you can see there's even like a piece of like the blaster broken off right in front of them, and of course like some cargo crates, and it looks like the helmet over to the right side of the pilot. So I mean, there's just so much to look at and talk about with this MOC, and it's just very aesthetically pleasing. I mean, you guys, I'm pretty sure I have at least one MOC with like plant pieces and foliage in every single MOC update, and I mean, I hope you guys agree with me that it just looks really good in Lego. So I mean, KevFett is obviously an incredible builder, and definitely knocked it out of the park with this one. Now we're going to take a look at this week's photography-based MOC. I use the term MOC very loosely with this because there really aren't any Lego elements in it besides the minifigures. In fact, it's quite obvious that the reason this photo was taken to really show off these awesome custom figures by Phoenix Customs. So if you guys are interested in them, Phoenix Customs is the one who made these. But I just love this picture so much. Like it has the realistic Octo background, and just at the forefront, very memorable scene between Luke and Rey, and I just like it quite a bit. It'd be even funnier if they had Luke like holding a branch or something that he smacks her on the hand with whenever she literally tries to reach out to the Force. But all in all, I just like this picture so much. Like, this is something I would want to have framed on a wall. I feel it was so cool in The Last Jedi, seeing Rey's training with Luke and kind of his renewed perspective on the Force, and the fact that this picture just looks so nice with the custom Lego minifigures of their Octo costumes, I think goes a long way. So not much to talk about here. Like I said, there's no Lego elements besides the figs, but I think it's a nice looking photograph nonetheless. The next MOC we're going to take a look at is called Archives of the Jedi Temple. It's built by R.C. Darman. It is a render, which, I mean, I'm sure you guys rather see real MOCs, but this one was really just too sweet to pass up because it's an awesome concept in my opinion, and the build techniques in it are actually pretty sweet. I really loved the technique for the, I mean, I guess they would be the equivalent of books in the Jedi Temple library. It just looks really nice, like the various combinations of blues and whites and like trans blues. I don't know, it's just a great technique, and it looks very close to what it should be. So very good job on that. I just love the way that looks. I would build one of these just to have it kind of hanging around in my collection because that technique alone looks so nice. The other thing that really stuck out to me is the burnt top part of that balcony. It just looks incredible, like those trans red elements in there mixed in with the black, and then of course the tubes that are jetting out of it as well. I think all combined together to make just a really incredible looking design in Lego. So I mean, I'm just thoroughly impressed with those two techniques on this MOC. If we go down to the bottom level, we can see we have some 501st troops squaring off against some Jedi. We even got, looks like Jocasta Nu over there trying to hold her own against a clone trooper. One of the other cool things about this MOC are the busts that are basically lining the end caps of those like bookcases, I guess you'd call them, maybe, not entirely sure, but they just look really cool. I like that technique a lot. You know, it's just a solid colored hairpiece, headpiece, and then of course the pieces that make up the torso on the bust. And I think the builder just did a really good job at capturing this scene from the film. If you look even over to the left side, you can see part of the actual bookcase is kind of burnt down, which I think looks pretty cool as well. And I don't know, like, this is, once again, like, people are always asking for MOC inspiration. I don't feel this is something we see often at all built in Lego, and you know, it doesn't take up too much space. You could probably fit this on a base plate if you wanted, maybe 1.5 base plates, but I mean, there's just so much detail in there. So many various things you could do with like posing the figures, having the troops walking in. So I'm just very impressed with this mod. One last thing to note is that the builder actually did make a physical version of this initially. So here is the real version of this. I think that the render I showed you was like an updated version of it. It's kind of an old MOC, so I don't know if they did build the full thing at some point or if they stopped here and the render was just something they updated but was never actually transferred into real bricks. But I mean, the cool thing about this is you can get a better look at the actual lights used in the bookcases, and I think it just looks so good, guys. This would be a really nice MOC to view in like low light conditions, especially with kind of like the burnt sections and the trans orange elements being illuminated as well. So I really like this MOC a lot. This is, I think, really inspiring for me. Like, I would definitely want to try my hand at building something like this, especially since it wouldn't really take up that much space. It'd be a good way to use some obscure Jedi minifigures and of course some 501st troopers. So wonderful job on this build, man. The final MOC we're going to take a look at this week is what I would call a classic LEGO Star Wars MOC. There are just certain MOCs that have been circulated around the community for a very long time, like MOCs that you would come across even if you weren't actively looking for MOCs. These are just ones that really just kind of transcend our community and make their way to the outside world. And I really feel like this is one of them, because this is one that I feel like I've seen so many times outside of me just, you know, being a LEGO Star Wars fan and actively looking for MOCs. And it's a Domino Squad kind of training facility build by ACPin. And this thing is just so pleasing to look at on the eyes. I mean, what a concept. And it's kind of it's an older MOC. I think he probably built this around like 2010, but I think it definitely holds up over time because this thing is just incredible. It's honestly hard to believe that it was built almost 10 years ago. So there's first this like kind of wide establishing picture that really just shows the entire MOC, and you see you have the various squads up on the balcony kind of overlooking what's going on the training field, which is pretty cool. I think that just the grid like build that he kind of did for the ground is just insane. Like to try to even like begin to try to attempt something like that in LEGO, I feel is a feat on its own, and I really feel like he knocked it out of the park. Getting that grid right is really key to a MOC like this, because that's the most distinguishing feature of this entire sequence, and I think he just nailed it. So wonderful job there. I also really love the big like kind of spherical turret builds, like those old school kind of dome pieces on the top and even on the bottom. I think actually look really nice. So this is just, it's just such a cool scene. It's definitely one of my favorite episodes of the Clone Wars when we get to hang out with Domino Squad. I just really want to see someone even tackle this nowadays with like some of the updated parts and figures that we have. I think it'd be incredible. But nonetheless, until that actually happens, I think ACPin has us in pretty good shape. So we move on to the next photo. We get an even better look at the training field, and once again, the grid just looks incredible. It's so consistent. It's honestly kind of hard to tell that it's LEGO if you look at it from afar, because it's not something you see built like with this type of technique too often. But you see he has like the droids kind of placed everywhere, and there's like the barricades and such. And this is really the shot that's kind of before they actually go in and go through the drill. So I don't know, it's kind of cool to see everything kind of set up as it is before the clones actually get on the field and start wreaking havoc. We move on to the next photo. I love these minifigure eye level photos. It just really helps kind of immerse you into the MOC. So yeah, this is Domino Squad kind of looking out onto the battlefield. You also get a better look at those droid turrets at the top right and left corner. Once again, I just love that build so much. It looks so cool. It's using some like old school dome pieces on the top and bottom that really just kind of work perfectly for what it's supposed to be. So great job there. There's droids manning turrets kind of up on the like near the wall area of the MOC. And the nice thing really about this MOC and like the set of pictures that I linked you to in this Flickr is that they really tell kind of the story of this part of the episode. Like he kind of has them progressing through the stages of the training field as they did in the episode. So if you really want to just get a nice kind of pictorial storytelling of that sequence in the episode, definitely go check out the link I included in the description. It's actually quite awesome to see progress. If we move on to the next photo, we get a better look at the actual Domino Squad, and I like what he did there. He has, you know, the standard Clone Wars clone faces underneath it, which, you know, at this time made a lot of sense to have there. You guys know how I generally feel about those Clone Wars heads, but I can totally understand why you would use them in this context, especially back in 2010. And then he has like basically purist versions of the special training helmets that they used, which is actually pretty cool. It'd be nice if LEGO made, you know, an actual version of that at some point. But I mean, I think this suffices in the meantime. Looks like the droids that were manning the turrets up top have actually been destroyed, so that's not an issue anymore. And I like this. This is one of the cooler scenes of that sequence when they're kind of game planning how the heck they're gonna make it up that wall. So once again, this is just really a small part of how he tells the story of this part of the episode in his pictures. So this is one where I really do urge you guys to go check out the actual build on Flickr, because there's some pretty good stuff in there. If we move on to the final photo, we get a look at them once they've actually made it to the top, and this is a very feel-good moment in the actual episode, and it's just really awesome to see here. I love how he used those trans green plates with the light behind them to represent, you know, the glowing features of the wall, so those look pretty nice as well. Also, those little turrets on the wall look pretty cool. He, I guess, used like a gear piece to kind of represent that with maybe like a 1x1 cylinder on top of it. You know, for a build that was built so long ago, back in 2010, almost 10 years ago, you can look at it and you can say, you know, there's so many newer parts that you could kind of use to maybe make this even more detailed. But for the time that this thing was built, I just gotta give this guy so much credit for this. This thing is freaking awesome. Like, I would love to see this thing in person even today, just because of how cool of a concept it is, and, you know, a large scale Clone Wars MOC of something that's relatively obscure, I'd say, to the average Star Wars fan. I give anyone credit for having the dedication to do something like this. So I hope you guys go and check out the pictures of this MOC, because like I said, it's a cool kind of storytelling of what we saw in the actual episode. And I hope someone attempts something like this sometime in the near future with the new parts we have. I think that would just be really cool to see. That's gonna finish up the video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed checking out these MOCs as much as I enjoyed showing them off to you. Like I always say, all you have to do in this video is just go support the builders. It would mean a lot to me as well as them. They deserve all the credit for their incredible talents, their incredible builds, and I like to give them as much of that as possible in these videos. So go to the links in the description, go show those guys some love. They will certainly appreciate it, and I'll appreciate it as well. Finally, if you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.